Rohan Samarajiva is the founding chair of LIRNEasia, an ICT policy and regulation think tank active across emerging Asia. And he joins us now live from St. Louis in the U.S. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here on the program. Now, first off, walk us through the current state of Sri Lanka's economy and how big of a role China is playing here.
Well, Sri Lanka's economy is in trouble. There is a crisis. It's caused by twin deficits. We've been running fiscal deficits for a very long time. And we also have had current account deficits, which have been financed by loans, of which the largest component has been in commercial debt, international sovereign bonds, which we have been rolling over. And that's something that one has to do when one is excessively indebted. But because of certain government decisions that were taken in 2019, our fiscal deficit situation worsened and our credit rating slipped, and now we no longer have access to the commercial debt market. That is the immediate cause of the crisis. The long-term crisis is, of course, that we have a government that is profligate, that spends more than it earns, and which does not export enough.
Mm-hmm. And Sri Lanka has asked China to reduce its debt repayments, and India had offered Sri Lanka an emergency loan for fuel. Why would India and China want to help Sri Lanka, and how would this further their political aspirations in the Indian Ocean?
Well, by any measure, if you look at trade patterns and investment, these are two of our most important trading and investment partners. Depending on the year, depending on various things, either China is number one or India is number one. Furthermore, I think it's relatively clear that we are a country that is right adjacent to India. It is critically important to India's defense parameters. And it is also a critical link in the Belt and Road Initiative for China. So these are also two of the countries from which we have taken loans. Not necessarily the largest component, however. The largest and most problematic component is our international sovereign bonds. But as anyone knows, it's not possible to negotiate on a one-on-one basis with ISB holders. Mm-hmm. Whereas with bilateral loan creditors, you can have these kinds of conversations regarding loan relief.
We've also seen Sri Lanka pay its debt through unconventional ways, like with its tea to Iran for the debt that it owns there. Can we witness them opt for this route more frequently?
The tea for oil swap is actually not a debt. Well, you must understand that Iran is under various kinds of sanctions, and we were unable to make this payment without violating the sanctions. So this is a problem more associated with the sanctions than with the current difficulties. I do not think that going back to barter, which is something Sri Lanka has done from 1952, the most famous being the Rice Rubber Pact with China, when pretty much the whole world was not dealing with China. I don't think that in the modern age we can rely on swaps, on barter of this kind.
Right, and Beijing argues that it only issues loans to countries if and when governments request them. So shouldn't Sri Lanka's political leaders take the blame a bit for the debt pile?
We of course, people like us, observers, researchers, we have not bought into this Western narrative of a debt trap. We have clearly demonstrated by looking at the evidence that while the Chinese debt is not the lowest cost money that we have obtained, or which has the lowest grace periods or repayment schedules, it is not the largest part of our debt portfolio. And obviously, we have to take the responsibility. Our political leadership has to take the responsibility for the way they have spent the money on investments that are not yielding the required returns, like an airport to which aircraft do not come,
Right.
a tower to which nobody goes, and so on and so forth.
All right, Rohan Samarajiva, thank you so much for joining us here on the NewsHour and sharing that insight with us.